Right, guys, first ever Volsungur team to make a Champions League final. I'm proud of you guys. Let's go out there and do what we've done so far. Take the game to the opposition. Try and put Man City here on the back foot. And if we can get the job done here, you guys, I'm sure you're aware, you'll all become club legends. Maybe not quite on my level because, there's a stadium getting built in the future and it's going to be named after May. So, not going to be named after you, but I might be able to get them to name sections of the ground after you. We could have the Dumbia section, the Ramadan section, the gay section. Yep, that works because we're all inclusive here at Volsungur. Let's just go out there, boys, give it our best and try and win our first Champions League. Come on! Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 142 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode, our first Champions League final of the save, the one in 2033. We are taking on Manchester City. So if you are looking forward to this, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. Also, let me know before this starts how you think we are going to do in this final down in the comments. Before we do get stuck into this game as well, we are going to do the end of European season roundup before we do get stuck in to this Champions League final. But if you did miss how we got here in yesterday's episode, I'll leave a link to that over in the top right corner, getting the job done against Pep Guardiola's Chelsea. So we have one more game to try and win our first European title of this save. It's our third European final. We have lost previously a Conference League final against Brighton, a Europa League final against Liverpool. Hopefully it is third time lucky here. But before we do get stuck into the guts of today's episode, we are going to do the end of European season roundup and tie that into a bit of a look at this Manchester City team who we are taking on in this Champions League final. We have not put the suit on for today's episode. I did think about it, but a little bit pressed for time. I usually hop on the treadmill after recording these episodes as well, so bit of a risk not putting the suit on, but hopefully we can still get the job done here in our third European final, as I said, of the save. But first things first, we will make our way through the end of European season roundup, seeing for the first time as we are playing the last game of the European season, and we will start off by having a look at the winners of the other European competitions. First off, the Conference League. We, of course, did a few Icelandic teams in qualifying for the Conference League this season, but unfortunately, none of them did make the group stages. So off the back of that, we didn't pay too much attention to this one, but in the final, it was Bayer Leverkusen who will pick it up, beating Dinamo Zagreb 2-1 in the final. So for the second season in a row, the Conference League does go to Germany. We now go up to the Europa League, and for the first time in the save since we've made the knockouts of the Champions League, a team which finished third in our group did not win the Europa League, because this season Liverpool got the job done 1-0 there over Arsenal in the final. We will go back though and check on how the team who did come out of our group in Ajax did get on, because over the past few years Real Sociedad and RB Leipzig have dropped down from third spot in our groups in the Champions League to go on and win this competition. We go down to the semi-finals. In fact, Ajax didn't even get that far, so it was not a good season for Ajax in Europe, and they didn't even make the quarterfinals. They only got as far as, it looks like, the first knockout round, so that is very surprising there for Ajax. They got beaten by a team which finished second in the Europa League group in that first knockout round, and quite comprehensively as well. 4-0 they lost to Sporting of Portugal. So Ajax having a pretty poor season in Europe, it is fair to say, but Liverpool have picked up the Europa League. And of course, we are in the Champions League final, as I said, for the first time, about to take on Manchester City. But before we get into a look at Man City, we will have a look at the results from the top 5 leagues, just to see who is going to be qualifying for the European competitions in the next European season. And with our opposition in the Champions League final being Manchester City, we'll work bottom up this time for the top 5 leagues in Europe. At the moment, Lens are leading the league on League 2 playoff there in France, but if we make our way to the league table, PSG win the league title there in France very comfortably by 22 points over Lille. Nice is the other team who will be in the Champions League out of France next season. Montpellier and Monaco, I imagine that's through winning the Coupe de France. They make their way into the Europa League, and Lyon will be in the Conference League out of Ligue 1. Over to Germany for the Bundesliga. Next, it does look like Arminia Bielefeld have won the Bundesliga playoff there against Hamburg, and that does mean they are going to stay in the Bundesliga next season. Hannover and Wolfsburg are the teams who will get relegated, but Bayern Munich, quite similarly to PSG, win the Bundesliga very comfortably. Hertha Berlin, Cologne and Dortmund will be the other teams in the Champions League next season. Bayer Leverkusen and Gladbach in the Europa League, so that win in the Conference League didn't change things too much there for Bayer Leverkusen, with that finishing position of 5th in the Bundesliga, and RB Leipzig are going to be down in the Conference League. Now we go up to Serie A Juventus yet again, a winner of a European top 5 league by a big margin, 18 points. They win the league by there over AC Milan, the team that we bet in the quarterfinals of this season's Champions League. Napoli, who finished second in our group in the Champions League, and Hellas Verona are the other team who will be in the Champions League next season, a team who we have actually sold some players to in the past. That could be interesting if we got matched up against those guys come early next week, I believe, is when we'll get to the new European season. Inter Milan just miss out on that last Champions League spot, but they are in the Europa League alongside Lazio, and Atalanta are going to be in the Conference League. Empoli, Palermo and Genoa are the teams who have been relegated from Serie A over to La Liga. Yet again, very, very comfortable winner here. Jurgen Klopp's Real Madrid pick up 100 points. They win the league by 23 over Barcelona and Real Sociedad, and Sevilla, who we bet in the first knockout round this season, are the other team in the Champions League next season. Out of Spain, Athletic Bilbao and Valencia in the Europa League, and Espanyol will be in the Conference League. Girona, Las Palmas and Tenerife are getting relegated, and up to the Premier League now, which does of course include our opposition in this Champions League final in Manchester City. They finished 9 points behind the team that we bet in the semi-finals yesterday, and that was Chelsea. They win the league by 3 points over Manchester United. Man City in third, and Arsenal grabbed that last Champions League qualification spot, albeit Liverpool also get in there because they won the Europa League. That means that Newcastle are in the Europa League, and Brighton do have that Conference League spot, albeit if Manchester City do win this Champions League final, I think a few things there could change in terms of those lower European qualification spots. But that is how things do look for now. We are taking on a Manchester City team who did finish 9 points behind Chelsea, as I said, the team who we did beat in yesterday's episode. So that does give us a little bit of hope going into this Champions League final, albeit higher reputation club than Chelsea in the Save universe. Vincent Kompany has won the Champions League twice over the past 5 seasons in the Save universe, and it is a very, very strong looking Manchester City starting 11 there. They've got Haaland, Para up front, Nets, Hamilton, De Jong and Mintzel in the midfield, and it is a back four of Armstrong, Ruben Dias, Lukumi and Koundé with Van der Voort in goal. That is quite a strong looking lineup, albeit they did only finish third in the Premier League. So with that being the case, and us having just defeated the champions, I am hopeful we can get the job done here and win our first Champions League at the first time of asking. In terms of us going into this Champions League final, we have absolutely no injury concerns at all, and there is an extended bench for the Champions League final, so a lot of options down there, but we are going with the team which has pretty much got us here for the most part. So it's Will Lervik in goal, Levan Tam at right back, Ali Ramadan and Elias Anderson in central defence, Kenny Boreal at left back, Basaro Gay in the DM role, Alassana Doumbia box-to-box midfield, Kalen Rakasan as a Mazzala, and Nicholas Zimmerman on the right wing, Chaka Traore on the left wing, with Adam Saki up front in our vertical tiki-taka 4-3-3. And as I said, an extended bench, which does mean we have lots of options should we need to call upon them. But no doubt we go into this game as the outsiders. But as I said, off the back of that win in the semi-final against Chelsea, I give us a slight chance here potentially of picking up our first Champions League title. And without any further ado, we'll come back shortly from the San Siro for the 2033 Champions League final. It is Manchester City versus Volsungur. And a quick update of the team sheets for this final, because Man City have actually brought in Yusuf Demir as a right midfielder, so that does certainly not weaken them at all. They've got some very good players on the bench as well, the likes of Kareem Adeyemi, but there is our team as we ran through before. Hopefully, we can keep our good form up here and win our first Champions League title at the San Siro. And 7 minutes into this one, we do have the first highlights are thrown in our favour, but that is poor. We give the ball straight to Man City there through Jules Koundé, and Para just holds the ball up there, though. Good interception from Elias Anderson, and we do look here to play out from the back. Lassana Doumbia will play this back to Bassero Gay over to Elias Anderson. We're being pressed quite high here. We play a ball forward for Chaka Traore, starts to make his way forward, takes a shot on from outside the box, but that's not really threatening the goal. Still 0-0 inside the first 10 minutes. And just shy of the quarter of an hour mark, we do have a corner here too. Man City, Haaland gets on the end of that at the near post, but thankfully his header goes high and wide, still 0-0, albeit we are down the other end now for a corner of our own. Bassero Gay gets that through the hands of Van der Voort, and just after the 15-minute mark, it is Volsungur 1, Manchester City 0 here in this Champions League final. That is a great start. Van der Voort gets his hands on the end of that, can't keep out the power of Bassero Gay. 1-0 Volsungur, just shy of the 20-minute mark. And right on the 25-minute mark, we are now back down the other end for a Man City corner, and this time Ruben Dias gets his head on the end of that, and very much like down the other end, Husavik can't quite keep that out, and unfortunately our advantage has gone in the first highlight off the back of conceding that goal. That might have almost been going over the bar, but Husavik wanted to be sure. Unfortunately, it still finds the back of the net. Not too sure who was there at the near post. In fact, it's Adam Saki, which is not ideal, so we'll definitely change that up because they are exposing us a little bit here at the near post, but 1-1, 25 minutes through this Champions League final. And 5 minutes off the back of that opening goal for Man City to equalise. They are back on the attack here, and Nets is in behind. He takes this to a near angle. Thankfully, Husavik, after a little bit of poor positioning early, pulls out a good save. So Man City are now well and truly on top of us on this one, but we are still at a scoreline of 1-1. And again, Man City inside the final third. Haaland there from a tight angle tries to get that past his international teammate, his goalkeeper in the Norwegian national team, but Husavik does pull off a save. They try and do us there in the centre this time from that corner. They can't quite do anything, but Hamilton given a lot of space there, but thankfully Bassero Gay will head that away 10 minutes shy of half time. It is still 1-1, albeit we are now down the other end for a throw of our own, but Man City do get the ball back there quite softly, and De Jong makes his way into the final third, albeit Kalen Rakasan there does get possession back for us, but Husavik will pump this deep, and Jules Koundé is there to tidy things up at right back for Man City, and it is Demir who plays that back to Koundé, and now De Jong, who got them on the front foot here, will get them going again, and he will pick up an assist. Erling Haaland puts that in the back of the net. Of course, the new signing in real life for Manchester City, and Man City do have a 2-1 lead here. That's a little bit disappointing after we were in front less than 20 minutes ago in this game, but they are certainly doing us in the ear at the moment. Not quite sure why Ali Ramadan hasn't challenged there, but good header into the right corner. 2-1 Man City with 10 minutes left in the first half. And that is half time here in this Champions League final. We got off to a good start there around about the 15-minute mark through that header from Bassero Gay, but off the back of that, there was a reply from Ruben Dias and Erling Haaland with 10 minutes to go in the first half as well. Man City are edging things stats-wise, though. It's hard to argue with that scoreline. We're going to make one change at half-time. Leo Van Tam is struggling at right back. Ian Carlo will come on for him, and hopefully we can get a goal back in the second half to equalise. At the very least, we are down 2-1 as we're about to kick off the second half of this Champions League final. And early on here in the second half, we do start off with a free kick off the back of a Man City highlight, which they were offside from, so not much point in showing you guys that one, but hopefully we can get off to a good start here in the second half and grab an equaliser. Zimmerman just holds up the ball there. Hamilton tries to press him. Nice ball over there for Ian Carlo in behind. Hopefully he can make a good impact here for us at right back, and we do keep the ball here inside the final third of Manchester City. Bassero Gay tries to play a ball over there for Chaka Traore, but it is cut out there from Man City, and Para gets them on the counter-attack. Unfortunately, Kenny Boreal can't quite get the ball back for us there, and they are on the attack. It does fall to Para, but thankfully that shot goes over the bar. Still 2-1 early here in the second half to Man City. And we are now a few minutes shy of the hour mark in this one. One of our players there was offside, so didn't play out the ball, in Man City after we were on the attack get a chance to build from the back here, but hopefully we can get possession back sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we might not be too far away from making some more substitutions. At the moment, there's a little bit of a struggle in defence there. Both of our centre-backs aren't on great ratings, and neither are our front three as well. So it hasn't been an ideal performance from us so far in this Champions League final, but we are certainly still right in this game, albeit Man City are on the attack yet again. Nets down the left-hand side, puts a ball in again for Erling Haaland, thankfully this time off target, and it's still 2-1 to Man City, but we are going to make our second substitution at this time. Just think we're struggling a little bit in defence, so it will be Thiago Polo coming on for Ali Ramadan. Very good in the air. A half hour left, and we need a goal. And we've gone forward now to the 64-minute mark. There's still a lot of players out there struggling, but Lassana Doumbia is down to a red heart. Karel Giroud to come on for him with our last substitution. Nearly 20 minutes left, and we are still 2-1 down here. And with 20 minutes left in this one, we do have another highlight just as we were about to switch to a higher tempo, but yet again, it is Man City here on the attack. They put a ball in there for Haaland. It's a little bit messy, but thankfully a blocked shot there, and that might have saved us because despite the fact it looked like he might be offside, that was not the case. We'll just wait and see if anything does happen from the subsequent corner, but thankfully, I think that was Anderson that time who clears that out to Nicholas Zimmerman. Can we get something going here on the counter-attack? Unfortunately, we can't. Less than 20 minutes left. We are still 2-1 down. And we are just about to hit injury time in this Champions League final. I've changed a lot of things recently in these last 10 minutes, but unfortunately, nothing has worked. And yet again, we suffer defeat in a European final, albeit when you do look at the stats at full time, absolutely clear cut. Manchester City were the better team in that final, but that is gutting. It is now our third loss in a European final, and that one especially gutting because for the first time, it did look like we were right in that game, having scored the opener through Basaroge, but off the back of that, Ruben Dias did grab an equaliser. Still not sure why the game, for some reason, put Adam Saki at the near post, because that certainly should not have been the case, but nonetheless, Man City made the most of that, and then Erling Haaland in the end grabbed them the winning goal at the 35-minute mark. We could not strike back, never really looked like we were going to threaten to strike back. Unfortunately, our front three did not have a good day at the office, and some of our defenders as well did not play well before we substituted them. So in the end, we just didn't quite click as much as we know we can, and we suffered defeat in the Champions League final there to Manchester City. As I said, as you could see then by those stats, they were well and truly the better team, but in the end, can't complain too much making a Champions League final with this team. They are certainly a bit of a team for the future, especially once some of these players in the save universe like Haaland do retire. That's, I think, when we're going to be able to make a real impact with this team here at Volsungur and maybe get our first Champions League. But this year is not the year, but we are still improving. Semi-finalists last season, finalists this year, but in the end we come up short 2-1 to Manchester City in the 2033 Champions League final. And back in the inbox off the back of that Champions League final, as you can see on screen, we did suffer defeat 2-1, unfortunately, and Manchester City will pick up their third Champions League in 6 seasons under the guidance of Vincent Kompany, a very good team. They've always had the wood over us, even a few seasons ago when we were taking them on in the group stages. I think if we play anyone else in that final, we might get the job done, but unfortunately it was Manchester City, and they pick up their third Champions League in their history in this save, although we do get a nice payday there for making the Champions League final. Hopefully that's going to boost up our transfer budget for February next season when we do have another transfer window that does open after blowing most of our money that we did get from making the semi-finals last season over the last few episodes. And again, we actually get a bit more money off the back of that through the coefficient ranking pool as well. So at least we get a nice payday for that. We go up to the Champions League review. We were the biggest overachievers making the final, but in the end, we can't quite win our first European trophy. As I said, we're getting really close. I think in a year or so's time, it looks like we're continually improving in this save. So hopefully next season or in a few seasons' time, when some of these real players do start to retire and we get a few more new gens coming through in this save, that might be the time when we can win our first Champions League if we haven't done it by that stage already. But before we do wrap up today's episode, we'll have a quick look now at the coefficient ranking off the back of the end of the European season. We started the season off in 13th, which means next season we don't actually have to enter Champions League qualifying until the qualification playoff. This season we did start off in the second qualifying round, so that's a few less games that we do have to play, which might not actually be as good for our coefficient in terms of accumulating points. But because we did move up to 13th, we did get a lot more teams back into European qualification for next season, so hopefully they can do a good job for us. But in the end, we pick up a 10.5. That is quite considerably our best year so far, albeit that's going to be counted potentially a little bit next season when we do get rid of a 9.875. That was the year that we got beaten in the Europa League final by Liverpool, but our last few seasons have been good. Hopefully, if we can keep this consistency, which we've just found over the past 2 seasons, we can start making our way right up that table and hopefully get in a position where we're kind of starting to get closer towards that top 5. But our goal for now is to make the top 10. We already pretty much knew we would be overtaking Russia at the end of this coefficient season, but if we tick things over, we have also just done enough to overtake Belgium. So that means that next season we will start things off in 11th place on the coefficient table. That's going to have no impact on where we enter for the next European season, but the season after that, that might potentially change a few things, because at the moment the team that is in 11th gets an automatic spot in the group stages of the Champions League. So hopefully that stays true and we might no longer be playing qualification games for the Champions League in a few years' time, which you'd actually expect for a team which has recently made the semi-finals and final of that competition. We still keep our team who is in the league path for that, and they enter in the second qualifying round. We also have a team in the Europa League playoff instead of the third qualifying round. That would be quite a nice boost. That could be useful. That would certainly guarantee us at least having 2 teams in European football if that was the case when we do go up to 11th, and also we keep our 2 qualification spots for the Conference League. So that does look like quite a useful rise up if those positions do stay where they are and we do take over from Russia in 11th place going into the 2034-35 season. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get the job done there in the Champions League final against Manchester City. We suffer a 2-1 defeat, but we will be back next year. And hopefully, just like last season, we can go one better and win our first European trophy of this save. In terms of the rest of this week, of course, through making the final of the Champions League, we did actually qualify for the Club World Cup, and I think that's coming up in the middle of June, even though it's not quite scheduled here. We might go over and have a look at the competition itself if we can find it. And indeed, the group stage of that competition does only kick off in a few weeks' time off the back of that Champions League final. So with us playing less qualification games for the Champions League for the next season, which does tick over very shortly in game, I think we'll come back tomorrow, play the group stages of the Club World Cup, and hopefully off the back of that we can make the finals and do that for the end of this week. So for the next couple of episodes, we will play the Club World Cup, the first time that we have qualified for that, and that is quite useful as well because these days that is only played every 4 years. So in the next few episodes, we will do some Club World Cup stuff, and then at the start of next week, I think we should get straight back into the swing of things in the Champions League. But if you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And until tomorrow for the group stages of the Club World Cup, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.